From the dojo to the octagon, this is Budocast, your source for the latest in martial arts news, culture, and competition. From breaking fight results to evolving techniques, we cover it all. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I want you to imagine surviving 25 minutes of a literal cage fight. I mean, your lungs are burning, you've absorbed crushing elbows to the face, and you've pushed your body to its absolute physical limit.
Which is brutal on its own.
Right. Now imagine enduring all of that while being utterly convinced that the referee is just watching your opponent break the rules and doing nothing to stop it. Because that was the grim reality of UFC Sacramento this weekend.
Yeah, it creates this fascinating, almost jarring dichotomy when we look at the reports coming out of the event. Because, on paper, it was a massive success.
Oh, absolutely.
You had 16,867 fans packing the Golden One Center. It generated $3.3 million at the gate.
Yeah.
And the main event between Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez and Anthony Fluffy Hernandez was just visually spectacular.
It was a war.
Exactly. It was this grueling middleweight bout where both men walked away with a $100,000 fight of the night bonus.
Yeah.
But the narrative completely fractured the moment the final bell rang.
Yeah, the aftermath got incredibly messy because Hernandez lost a unanimous decision, which puts him on a 2-fight skid, and he immediately used the post-fight press conference to launch some, extremely heavy accusations.
Very heavy.
He claimed Rodriguez was blatantly cheating in the grappling exchanges by hooking his fingers inside Hernandez's gloves. And he specifically said, quote, "I hit him with everything in the kitchen sink, hit him with some hard elbows. Fucker was cheating and grabbing the inside of my gloves."
Wow.
Yeah, and he even claimed he explicitly warned referee Herb Dean during the action, but no point was ever deducted.
Which fundamentally alters the mechanics of a grappling exchange.
Yeah.
To understand why this is such a severe accusation, we really have to look at the design of a 4-ounce mixed martial arts glove.
Right, because it's not a boxing glove.
Exactly. There is a small gap where the fingers slide through. And if a fighter manages to hook their fingers inside that gap, they essentially lock the opponent's arm to their own body.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for the casual observer, a glove grab might just sound like a minor infraction, like a little tug on the fabric.
It sounds trivial.
But having someone grab the inside of your 4-ounce gloves is like having someone grab your steering wheel while you're driving at 100 miles an hour. It completely neutralizes your defense.
That steering wheel analogy is perfectly apt. It really is.
You can't pummel for underhooks. You can't post your hands to stop a takedown. Your hands are literally trapped in a vise.
It removes a fighter's primary tool for creating leverage. But, what's equally debilitating is the psychological toll of that foul.
Oh, the mental aspect.
Yeah. When you are operating in a space where the margins for error are microscopic and you feel the referee is failing to enforce the rules designed to protect you, it just derails your focus.
You're suddenly fighting two people.
Exactly. You stop fighting the man in front of you and you start fighting the official in your head.
You're completely unprotected in an environment where you are already highly vulnerable. So I have to ask, does an unpenalized foul of this magnitude force us to put an asterisk next to the winner's performance?
Well, what's fascinating here is that we have to balance the scales because the other side of the ledger is equally compelling.
Okay, how so?
Even if the fouls occurred exactly as Hernandez described, they represent a failure of officiating, not necessarily a total invalidation of Rodriguez's effort. Rodriguez absorbed an immense amount of punishment.
He did get hit with the kitchen sink.
Right. Hernandez rocked him repeatedly and pushed a relentless pace. Rodriguez still had to possess the durability to survive that pressure and, the tactical execution to implement his game plan over 5 rounds. He extended his win streak to 4 under immense fire.
Which catapults him up the middleweight hierarchy. And Rodriguez wasted 0 time trying to cash in on that momentum. He immediately grabbed the microphone and called out the champion, Dricus du Plessis.
Which is a completely understandable move from a financial perspective.
Sure, shoot your shot.
But it's completely detached from the reality of the matchmaking ladder. Rodriguez surging, yes, but jumping from a win over Hernandez straight to a title shot ignores the established gauntlet of the top 10.
Right. You don't just skip the queue.
Exactly. The analytical consensus points to a much more mechanical test for his next outing, which would be Caio Borralho. Borralho sits at number 6 in the rankings, and he just secured a massive win over Rainier de Ritter back in March.
That makes a lot more sense.
That is the stylistic and mathematical threshold Rodriguez has to cross to prove he actually belongs in the championship conversation.
The concept of the logical next step in matchmaking is really fascinating right now, especially when you look at how a fighter like Rainier de Ridder handled his own business this weekend.
Oh yeah, the Dutch Knight.
Yeah, he moved back to the light heavyweight division and absolutely dismantled Roman Dolidze. It was a first-round stoppage. I mean, he banked $300,000 and snapped a two-fight skid.
The mechanics of that victory were incredible, largely because Dolidze brought an inexplicably bad game plan to the octagon.
What was he doing?
Well, Dolidze attempted to engage de Ridder in grappling sequences where de Ridder had a clear fundamental advantage. It just backfired hilariously, and de Ridder capitalized with ruthless efficiency to pound him out.
It was hard to watch.
It was. And afterward, de Ridder called out top 10 guys like Khalil Rountree Jr. and Navajo Sterling. But again, if we look at the structural reality of the division, matchmakers are likely going to pair him with the winner of the upcoming UFC 331 bout between Alonzo Menefield and Iwo Baranowski.
So for a guy like de Ridder or a guy like Rodriguez, the promotion seems to prefer this steady mathematical progression up the ranks.
Usually, yes.
But then you have a fighter who completely shatters that mathematical illusion with pure viral entertainment. I'm looking at Chris Padilla.
Oh, man, that's finished.
This guy locked in a standing arm triangle submission over Nasrat Haqparast at exactly 4 minutes and 59 seconds of the third round. A literal buzzer beater with 1 second left on the clock.
I mean, a standing arm triangle in the dying seconds of a fight is an anomaly.
It's unheard of.
It requires an opponent to be so exhausted or so desperate that they leave their neck completely exposed while upright. And Padilla recognized the opening, clamped it down, and secured a finish that will be on highlight reels for the next decade.
But the finish was only half of the equation. Because Padilla gets on the mic, points his shot directly at veteran Jim Miller, and loudly proclaims that he grew up watching Miller as a little maggot.
It is brilliant, slightly unhinged promotional work.
It's so good.
Jim Miller has 47 UFC fights. He is openly campaigning to hit 50 before he retires. Padilla recognized that narrative and inserted himself into it as the villain.
Right.
He is essentially saying to the matchmakers, I'm a hungry new generation. I'm here to slaughter the beloved old guard. Put me on television.
So what does this actually mean for the matchmakers sitting in the back room? Is their job more about rewarding highly entertaining, viral performances with big-name legacy fights, or is it strictly about following the divisional rankings?
That's the big question.
Because Padilla isn't the only one creating this kind of chaos. Markel Medeiros became the first man to ever stop Mason Jones, using these nasty elbows to secure a $50,000 bonus.
Yeah, that was vicious.
And fans are immediately demanding Medeiros rematch Padilla because they previously fought to a draw. You also have Vitor Petrino on a 4-fight win streak, needing a step up against Walter Walker, and Carly Judice winning a bonus and getting eyed for Deonia Barbosa. The queue is packed with talent demanding attention.
This is the delicate balancing act of modern combat sports. Because the rankings exist to provide a framework, right? An illusion of strict meritocracy that gives the sport its legitimacy.
Yeah, that makes it a sport.
But the undeniable reality is that the UFC is in the business of selling pay-per-views and driving social media engagement. A mathematical progression up the ladder is respectable, but a viral finish paired with a highly quotable post-fight interview allows a fighter to effectively jump the line.
The little maggot promo works.
Exactly. The matchmakers will almost always prioritize a compelling narrative, like the young prospect hunting the grizzled veteran, because narrative generates revenue.
Before we dive deeper, shout out to our sponsors. First up, Elite Sports, leaders in premium fightwear for BJJ and MMA. Whether you're rolling or striking, they've got gear built to move with you. Check them out at elitesports.com. And if you're a school owner looking to optimize your dojo year's performance, you need to check out Lotus by Open Black Belt. It is the ultimate management software for tracking ranks, attendance, and billing. They are currently offering a free trial to our listeners. Streamline your business so you can spend more time on the mats. Visit openblackbelt.com to start your trial today. You can find links for both in the show notes. And if you've got a story, news tip, or question, send it to us at bodocast.com.
So when we look at how individual narratives generate revenue, it naturally leads us to examine how the promotions themselves navigate the macro strategy of the global calendar.
Right, zooming out a bit.
Yeah, we finally have the dates and locations solidified for the last major UFC events of 2026.
UFC 334 is officially locked in for November 14th at Madison Square Garden, and UFC 335 will close out the year on December 12th at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas.
Big venues.
Yeah, and on paper, those locations feel entirely standard. MSG in November and Vegas in December is the UFC's bread and butter.
The locations are standard, yes, but the specific date selected for UFC 334 reveals a lot about the current state of the combat sports
I
economy.
think so.
Well, initial reports indicated that TKO, the UFC's parent company, was attempting to engineer a massive crossover weekend by pairing a UFC event with the heavily anticipated Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua boxing match.
Ah, a boxing match that has reportedly devolved into a total promotional debacle.
Precisely. The negotiations for Fury and Joshua are incredibly volatile right now. So by planting their flag on November 14th, the weekend before the proposed boxing date, TKO is executing a strategic retreat to protect their bottom line.
They don't want the headache.
Exactly. They are pivoting away from the headache of boxing to avoid counter-programming themselves or getting their premier MSG event caught in the blast radius if the boxing deal completely collapses.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The UFC is playing 3D chess with the calendar to actively navigate a minefield to avoid the chaos of boxing. But what I find fascinating is that over in the PFL, they are doing the exact opposite.
They are diving right in.
They're literally building a bridge into that minefield. We just saw PFL Tampa, where Chris Cyborg defeated Ketlin Vieira in a very tough 5-round fight.
A fight made significantly more difficult by the fact that Vieira egregiously missed weight by 7 pounds.
7 pounds is insane.
It is. In combat sports, a 7-pound weight advantage on the scale translates to a massive physical advantage in the cage in terms of sheer mass, leverage, and durability. I mean, grappling with someone 7 pounds heavier than you planned for is exhausting. Cyborg overcoming that physical deficit is a testament to her legendary status.
And PFL CEO John Martin completely agrees. I mean, he was raving about her after the fight, calling her the most accomplished women's MMA fighter ever.
High praise.
But he took it a step further. Because of the PFL's recent merger with Most Valuable Promotions, Martin openly teased the idea of allowing Cyborg to cross over into the boxing ring to fight world champion Claressa Shields.
Which is wild.
So, does allowing a legendary champion like Cyborg to box legitimize the PFL, or does it massively devalue their own MMA product if she just gets outclassed in the ring?
If we connect this to the bigger picture and view this through the lens of traditional promotion building, it seems incredibly risky.
Yeah, you'd think so.
The UFC's model is famously rigid for a reason. They protect their intellectual property fiercely. They rarely co-promote and almost never let their athletes cross over because a loss outside the octagon damages the aura of the UFC champion.
Right, they want to maintain that invincibility.
Exactly. But the PFL is operating as a challenger brand. They are using the MVP merger to wield flexibility as an asymmetric weapon against the UFC's rigidity.
Oh, I see. They are offering free agents the one thing the UFC explicitly forbids: cross-platform monetization.
Exactly that. Yes, Cyborg might lose a pure boxing match to Claressa Shields because Shields is a specialist. But in today's attention economy, the cross-pollination of audiences is far more valuable than protecting an undefeated record.
Because it draws eyes to the PFL brand.
Yes. It demonstrates to every high-level fighter on the market that the PFL is an ecosystem where they can maximize their earning potential across multiple disciplines, rather than being locked into a single cage.
It's all about maximizing attention and revenue streams. And unfortunately, when we talk about monetizing attention, we have to look at the completely unregulated, often chaotic side of this industry.
It gets weird here.
We transition from the highly strategic corporate maneuvers of the UFC and PFL to the absolute wild west of influencer boxing. Brand Risk 15 took place in a warehouse in Miami, hosted by Aiden Ross.
It is the absolute definition of a manufactured spectacle. The barrier to entry is entirely based on follower count rather than any athletic merit.
And the results really reflect that. Austin McBroom knocked out FaZe Temper in exactly 1 minute and 37 seconds. I believe this is the 4th time Temper has been completely brutalized in a boxing ring, yet promoters continue to cut him checks to show up because his audience tunes in.
This is bizarre.
Then you had YK Osiris fighting Bob Menery. Osiris scores a knockdown in 30 seconds, entirely forgets the rules of the sport he is participating in, and strikes Menery while he's down on the canvas, resulting in a no contest.
Total lack of discipline.
And then you have professional bodybuilder Larry Wheels literally blowing out his bicep mid-fight.
Yeah, it is a profound breakdown of athletic structure, although it is worth noting that buried deep within that warehouse chaos was a legitimate intergenerational combat sports storyline.
Oh, right, the legacy fight.
Yeah. Anderson Silva's son, Gabe Silva, fought Kimbo Slice's son, Kevin Baby Slice Ferguson, and Gabe Silva ended up knocking him out with a beautiful left hook in the second round.
It's incredible that a Silva versus Slice matchup happened in a Miami warehouse rather than a major arena.
It really is a sign of the times.
But that sense of unpredictability and chaos isn't solely confined to influencer events. Even within the highly regulated structure of the UFC, the physical danger occasionally spills outside the octagon. Dana White had to address a very bizarre incident at the Contender Series this week involving Namo Fazil.
Right. The reports state that Fazil was in the middle of his weight cut when he was interrupted by a confrontation with a group of Chechens.
Unbelievable timing.
And this allegedly escalated into a physical altercation that drew police attention.
To understand the impact of that, we have to look at the physiology of a weight cut. Because a fighter in the final stages of a weight cut is severely dehydrated. The fluid around their brain is actually depleted.
Yeah, they are physically fragile and incredibly irritable.
Exactly. Having a physical confrontation in a hotel lobby isn't just a mental distraction. It drains vital physical energy that simply cannot be replenished before hitting the scale.
It is the absolute most vulnerable state an athlete can be in, and the surrounding circumstances only added to the volatility.
Yeah, what else happened?
Well, UFC fighter Baysanger Susurkaev hinted online that he was involved in the altercation. Furthermore, when Fazil eventually made it to the fight and suffered a knockout loss, Khamzat Chimaev was seen online actively celebrating the defeat.
Wow. And when reporters pressed Dana White on the security breach and the involvement of other fighters, he brushed it off entirely. He just stated, quote, "Lots of crazy shilla happens every day in this business," and claimed the promotion handled the matter internally.
It serves as a stark reminder that while the rules inside the cage are strictly enforced, the environment surrounding these athletes is inherently volatile.
The off switch isn't always there.
Right. The aggression required to compete at that level doesn't always magically disappear the moment they leave the arena.
Which brings us to the most sobering topic in our source material today. We are moving from bizarre promotional chaos to deeply serious, real-world, legal matters.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
And I want to be extremely clear for our listeners. We are simply reporting the facts as they are stated in the legal documents and media reports provided to us. Former UFC title challenger and current commentator Anthony Smith was arrested a day after his 38th birthday.
Yes, and according to the Sarpy County Attorney's Office, Smith is facing multiple severe felony charges.
It's a heavy list.
It is. The list includes 1 count of domestic violence resulting in serious bodily injury, 1 count of first-degree false imprisonment, and 1 count of uttering terroristic threats.
Wow.
The initial police reports allege a harrowing scenario, claiming that Smith threatened to kill his wife if she didn't leave a bar with her, forced her into their vehicle, and later attempted to hit her with that vehicle multiple times.
There were also initial media reports stating that shots were fired during the incident and that Smith refused to leave his residence when law enforcement arrived on the scene. However, there is a prominent counter-narrative that has emerged directly from Smith's family in the days following the arrest. His wife posted a defense on Instagram, explicitly stating that the authorities took a mental health struggle and turned it into something it wasn't.
Right, that's an important detail.
She wrote that Smith is a good man who would never hurt me, and clarified that she called the police to protect him from himself during a crisis.
And Anthony Smith has also broken his silence on the matter, posting a photo of his family with a caption stating, "I'll be able to tell my story someday soon. Character is revealed in chaos."
So there are two very different pictures being painted here.
Yeah, and the reality of the situation is that these are incredibly serious felony charges. They carry severe potential consequences, and they will have to be meticulously litigated within the legal system.
As a modern fan consuming combat sports media, the cognitive dissonance is just overwhelming. I mean, how are we supposed to process this whiplash? You spend your weekend watching highly skilled athletes chase bonuses or laughing at the absurdity of an influencer blowing out his bicep in a warehouse.
Right.
And then you're suddenly forced to process highly disturbing allegations involving a fighter you might listen to on commentary every single week.
This raises an important question about how we engage with the sport. It demands a high level of critical distance from the audience.
Definitely.
It underscores the critical need for fans, media, and observers to step back and allow the legal process to unfold without rushing to judgment.
We aren't the judge and jury.
Exactly. The athletes we watch headline Madison Square Garden are human beings. They are operating under extreme physical, mental, and emotional pressures that are completely invisible to the public.
We only see the polished product.
Right. And the disparities between a clinical police report, A media headline and a family's personal reality behind closed doors can be vast, as we see highlighted by the statement from Smith's wife. Our responsibility is to impartially observe the facts as they are presented, recognizing the profound difference between evaluating an entertainment product and passing judgment on a real-world legal crisis.
Yeah, that's incredibly well said. If we look at the entire scope of the sources we explored today, it really paints a picture of an ecosystem defined by absolute extremes.
Extreme highs and extreme lows.
Yes, exactly. You have the mechanical brilliance of a buzzer-beater submission and the life-changing thrill of a $100,000 bonus. And on the flip side, you have the controversy of unpunished fouls, the unregulated slop of the influencer circuit, and the heavy reality of severe legal turmoil that threatens to shatter lives outside the octagon.
The contrast is jarring, but it is entirely representative of the industry in its current state. The controlled violence of the sport is always wrestling with the uncontrollable variables of human nature and modern promotion.
It is a complex web that is only getting more tangled. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to consider.
Something to mull over.
As the lines between legitimate, highly regulated martial arts, the manufactured circus of influencer boxing, and the intense behind-the-scenes drama continue to blur into one endless content feed, will the next generation of combat sports fans even care about the sanctity of the sport's rules, or will they only care about the chaos of the narrative? That is it for this episode of Budocast. Thanks for joining us as we break down the latest in martial arts. We'll be back soon with more news, stories, and insights. Until then, train hard, stay humble.